Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as I am every Tuesday by Andrew Erickson. Buddy, we are talking Week 15 predictions. Yes, that's right. We are into the fantasy playoffs for just about every league out there. This is week 2 of this iteration of the show. Once we get past the trade deadlines, this is kind of what the show turns into. If you missed last week, just a quick refresher. We're going to be doing some predictions. We'll go 5 to 1 from each of us. First 4 kind of in order. The last one is our sort of best bet of the week. And we're going to track and see who does better throughout the season here. We had our first episode of this version of the show last week. We're going to continue it with this week and the next few and really see who does better, Erickson. Before we dive into how we did last week, just a quick check-in here at the playoffs. How did you do? How many playoffs did you make? How many buys did you earn? How is your sort of overall, I hate using the word portfolio, but how is your portfolio looking here as we embark upon the fantasy postseason?
As the kids like to say, it's pretty mid for the most part. I snuck into all my fantasy playoffs for the most part as the number 6 seed. So all you got to do is get to the dance. Anything can happen. I'm probably going to lose one team week by week as I get exposed a little bit here because I didn't have a ton of dominant teams except the one that in the content team league where I was the number 1 seed and actually had a bye this past week. So I also think I had another league where the playoffs started last week, which I don't understand why.
Point of order, I was number 2 seed and also had a bye this last week. So let's the two of us are really representing that content league strong here. It's not just you. Don't take that away from me.
Yeah, and I probably would have been screwed if I didn't have the bye week because I
totally would have been. My team scored like 80 this week.
I would have had to start Tyrod Taylor, who got injured. So that would have been really bad because I had Drake May on a bye week. So Drake May's back, facing the Bills this week, going to be a shootout. So yeah, looking forward to it. Week 15, playoffs are here for the majority of leagues, and this is the time where, hey, time to show out. Weeks 1 through 14, doesn't matter anymore. It's 0-0, it's winner take all, lose and go home. Let's break it down with some of these predictions, get people set for the week, or at least the start of the week.
Some quick accountability from me. 14 leagues I was in this year. I made the playoffs in 11 of them, and 4 of those I received a bye. Ironically, one of the 3 leagues I did not make the playoffs in, I had the 3rd most points scored this season. It was just dumb luck, and sometimes it works out that way. But 11 out of 14 plus 4 buys. So I'm feeling pretty good. I've had a few years in a row where I got a lot of teams to the semifinals and then lost in the semifinals in almost every league. So I'm hoping we don't have that repeat itself, but it sure feels like it's shaping up that way right now. Quickly, before we get into the predictions part of the show, any thoughts on Monday Night Football for the listeners? Any recap here from Eagles Chargers? Obviously, I was predicting that the Eagles were going to smash the Chargers. Clearly did not happen. Just any fancy takeaways? I mean, a game like that with so many turnovers, that's inherently fluky. Probably not going to happen again. And it just kind of throws the rhythm of the whole game into whack.
I mean, Jalen Hurts had a play where he had -4 points.
I know. I've never seen that in my whole life. I doubt anybody has. I didn't look it up. But
I mean, I thought that the Mahomes catch for -10 yards was going to be the biggest negative play that we see from a quarterback, but Jalen Hurts took the cake with, again, he threw 4 interceptions, had the fumble on one of his interceptions. Just terrible day at the office for Jalen Hurts, but bounce back spot for the Philadelphia Eagles next week against the Las Vegas Raiders. Saquon Barkley looked good. Again, ripped off an explosive 50-yard touchdown run against the Chargers, who've kind of been a boomer bust run defense. I think it's kind of status quo with the Eagles players. Again, we know that their offense can be bumpy at times. Again, it was a tougher matchup. Chargers defense has been good this year. I think more of the story was the Chargers offense with Omari and Hampton coming back. Still kind of a split committee with Kamani Vidal kind of being he started the game, looked pretty good, had that 60-yard catch on the first drive. Hampton ended up scoring. Hampton did outtouch him in the red zone, which I think is pretty key, 5-1. And I would expect Hampton to probably take on the 60% in a 60 kind of 40 split. I just don't think we'll go back to Hampton as 80% of the snaps because Vidal's been really good for the most part for the Chargers kind of filling in. So I think he's going to still have a role. But I will say the Chargers turned into a much heavier run offense with all of this Justin Herbert injuries on their offensive line against the Eagles defense. Their pass rate over expectation was -12%. Against the Eagles. It was +4% every other game or from weeks 1 through 13, and he was constantly under pressure. I believe that from Next Gen Stats, they had that Justin Herbert was pressured on 68% of his dropbacks, which is the highest pressure rate of any quarterback this season. And you know who's facing next week? Is the Kansas City Chiefs, who pressured CJ Stroud on 54% of his dropbacks on Sunday Night Football. So I would say right now with this Chargers passing game, you can't start anybody except Ladd, who is probably more of a wide receiver 2-3 play than a back-end wide receiver 1, which is kind of where he's been ranked since he started heating up a little bit towards mid-season. But can't trust Keenan Allen, can't trust Quentin Johnson, can't trust Gadsden either, who has kind of fallen off a cliff. I know he was one of the guys I hit on the predictions last week, where expecting him to kind of disappoint here. And again, another dud from him with just one catch. So very concerned about the Chargers passing game. Herbert is running, which I thought was, the Eagles are trying to punch his hand last night, right? They're like, oh, we're punching the ball. It's like, no, we're trying to punch his hand and make him uncomfortable. But give credit to Justin Herbert, man. Like, the dude balled out, gutsy performance, playing with a broken hand. I was utterly impressed.
I've been impressed with him from week 1 this season, right? Like, I remember talking with you after that first game and saying, like, it just looks like a different Justin Herbert. Like, it feels like he leveled up this year. Obviously, injury stuff has been an issue. Hasn't totally panned out that way. But yeah, I continue to be really impressed with what we've seen out of Herbert this season. I have, like, pretty high hopes for him if everything's healthy going into next season. Speaking of your that around a Gadsden pick, you went 3-2 last week. We're giving you the Bucky Irving RB1 finish because it was technically true. He was RB12. Spiritually, we talk about the spiritual loss. He didn't exactly have this big blow up game he didn't hit his prop, which is not what we're tracking. He didn't have the big blow up game you're really talking about. It was kind of a down week for running backs outside of the first couple. He scored like 15 points. It was a good week. You were happy you started Bucky Irving. Catching the touchdown pass helped. We'll give it to you. It wasn't exactly the blow up game we were maybe anticipating.
He was our RB12 on a week with 4 teams on bye. And yes. I just snuck in, and basically, if Vidal and Hampton had like combined their score to one,
I was gonna say yes. If they didn't split,
yeah, he would have been RB13 and would have taken me out. But hey, technically, still top 12 running back, a fantasy RB1. So
it did get you up to a 3-2 winning record in week 14. I also had a 3-2 record. There was no real gray area for mine. I missed on Chris Rodriguez and the Eagles smashing the Chargers. The others I hit very easily. Yours were mostly like pretty straightforward besides the Bucky one. So if you want to drop in the comments that you strongly disagree with counting the Bucky hit, let us know. But obviously, he did hit top 12, so I think it's fair to leave it there, which means we're tied 3-2 apiece here through 1 week. Like I said, we'll keep track of that throughout the season. Let's get into our 5 predictions here, Erickson, for week 15, starting with you. What's number 5?
Number 5 prediction going to Thursday Night Football. Emeka Egbuka is going to bounce back here against the Atlanta Falcons. Been extremely frustrating for the Buccaneers rookie wide receiver. Basically, since that hamstring injury he had in a game where the Buccaneers lost a bunch of their wide receivers, just been really inefficient for most of his weeks. He did have one blow-up game against the Patriots, but besides that, it's been a lot of targets, a lot of air yards, and a lot of disappointment for Emeka Egbuka because, and it's crazy, we were thinking that, okay, the concern with Egbuka coming in is we're not going to see enough volume from him. Godwin is there, Evans is there, and then he gets the perfect run out, right? Where those guys go down, those guys miss so much time, and we're thinking, okay, the target floodgates are going to open, and that has really been the case for him. If you look at his expected points per game since week 7, he is number 3 in expected fantasy points per game. He's a 29+% target share in his last 7 games. However, nobody has scored fewer fantasy points versus expectation than Emeka Egbuka. -55. He's scoring almost 8 fantasy points less than he should be. So again, this isn't any breaking analysis. If you have him on your team, he's been a big disappointment. But we still have to consider what kind of usage he's seeing in this offense. And he's still the target alpha leader in this Buccaneers passing game. So against the Atlanta Falcons, I think he can finish as a top 20 wide receiver. He had faced the Falcons back in week 1 when Mike Evans was healthy in the lineup. He went for 67 yards. He caught 2 touchdowns. He was a top 3 wide receiver on the week. I believe he finished wide receiver 3 on the week. So I think he's going to go over 51.5 receiving yards. You're going to see his receiving prop drop probably substantially just because of how poor he has been in the last couple weeks. And I do think that if Mike Evans does come back, which there is a chance that this can take some pressure off of Egbuka, where maybe the targets fall a little bit, but his efficiency can boost back up. Todd Bowles has already talked about, hey, we want to get him going early. We want to build up his confidence in this particular matchup. And when you look at the X's and O's, I would expect AJ Terrell to shadow Mike Evans. If Evans plays in this game, that's what we saw in week 1. That should give some more favorable matchups to some of these weaker cornerbacks on the Falcons for Egbuka. So I like Egbuka in this spot here to be a top 20 guy. I think you still have to start him because there's just too much volume. We don't know what Mike Evans' role will be necessarily, but I think that when he is on the field, he's going to draw coverage from AJ Terrell. So I'm going back to Egbuka. I know it's been disappointing, but he'll be a top 20 guy this week.
It's been more than disappointing. I'll even take the San Francisco and Detroit games. I'm not even going to count them because obviously he got hurt against San Francisco and Detroit. Like, nobody thought he was going to play in that game. He did end up playing and getting 12 targets, but like, he was limited that entire week. So like, I'll take those two off the table here. Going back the other last, I think it's 6 games. Yeah, 6 games. His finishes: wide receiver 55, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 44, wide receiver 50, wide receiver 43, wide receiver 76. I mean, it has been not just disappointing, it's been like pretty much unplayable in all of these games. He has one game since week 5 with over 8 fantasy points in half PPR scoring. And that's that game against New England, where he was wide receiver 4. That is his only game with a touchdown since week 5. He, of course, had the opportunity to catch one this last week. He's not been on the same page with Baker, but he's also been, having, some drops here and there and just not looking as good. Like, it's just been bad all the way around. It really feels like. And I wanted to point out, Erickson, Egbuka is finally moving down in ECR. Going into last week, he was still like, I forget, it was like wide receiver 14 or so, ahead of week 14. Now in, early rankings, obviously it's still only Tuesday morning. This could change, but in early rankings, he's down at wide receiver 26. The managers and then the rankers in the industry are finally saying, listen, we got to move this guy down in consensus. He's in fact one spot behind Chris Godwin, his teammate, in consensus in this early part of the week ahead of week 15. So where do you think you will end up having him ranked? If you're expecting a bounce back, are you going to be well ahead of consensus then?
I think I'll be a little bit higher than consensus on Egbuka just because I outlined the volume that he's seeing is off the charts, like double-digit targets. And I think that when Mike Evans, if he comes back, that does alter what you could expect. As I outlined, I think that maybe his efficiency can get a boost if Mike Evans ends up playing in this game. I do admit, though, Godwin has looked good the last couple weeks, averaging over 40 yards after the catch in the last 2 games. So both guys, I think, can be starting territory. I don't know if I'll get Godwin ahead of Egbuka, but I think in the wide receiver 2 range, I think that's probably where I'll settle on both guys ultimately. And then obviously need to shake a couple things up if Mike Evans ends up suiting up on Thursday night, which we still don't know at the time of this recording. But it seemed like he was really trying to play last week, playing off the broken collarbone. And so it'll be interesting to see if he ends up suiting up.
When it comes to managing your money, you've got to think like a fantasy GM. It's all about making smart moves. That's where the Klarna card comes in. It's like that perfect waiver wire pickup for your everyday finances. You can pay in full now or plan ahead to pay later so you stay flexible and always in control of your budget. It's your debit card upgraded. No credit impact to apply, no hidden fees, and it works anywhere Visa is accepted. Think of it as a game-winning play for your everyday finances. Sign up for the Klarna card by downloading the Klarna app or learn more at klarna.com/US/Klarna-card and take control of your purchases your way. Klarna Card Pay Later plans issued by WebBank. Deposits in your balance account are held at WebBank, member FDIC. Anywhere Visa is accepted. Certain merchant, product, good, and service restrictions apply. Some merchants do not accept virtual cards. Physical card only included with a paid Klarna membership plan. Let's go to my first prediction here. Jacoby Brissett's hot streak is going to end in Houston. He will finish outside the top 12 for the first time since taking over as the starter. Brissett has been awesome. He has made Michael Wilson, when Marvin Harrison Jr. is not on the field, awesome. He has obviously helped elevate Trey McBride ahead of where he already was. He has been just a godsend for the Cardinals and in this passing game since stepping into the lineup for Kyler Murray. Since the bye week in week 8, he's QB 10, QB 10, QB 4, QB 8, QB 8, QB 12. 2 weeks before that, he was QB 7, QB 12. So this is going back for like most of the season at this point. And I'm here to tell you that that is ending this week. It'll be no surprise. I did a similar prediction last week for Patrick Mahomes, who's obviously much more established than Brissett, against this Texans defense. Was very much correct on that one. And I'm running it back this week with Brissett, who, like I said, has been on fire. It's not happening against the Texans. Like, I don't care what quarterback you are. It's not happening against this Houston defense. They are so good. They are a defense that, like, I really don't know. We're in the fantasy playoffs now. So you're going up against a good team. Like, this is it. This is when it really matters. I don't know if I would start a single quarterback against them, except Josh Allen. And I know Allen did a really bad job against them just a couple of weeks ago, but I think he is just so on that level that but you could not sit Josh Allen, right? And obviously that's not going to matter. He's not going to be playing them again. But I'm trying to make a larger point that I think literally every other quarterback in football this season, the way the quarterback's been playing this season, there's not like a ton of the guys that have really like stepped up. It's not the strongest MVP field. It feels like all that. I would sit everybody. So Jacoby Brissett, I am not playing him against his Texans defense. You wouldn't be starting Geno Smith next week anyway. I'm not starting Justin Herbert against them in week 17. Like, I will not be starting anybody against this defense all season, and I don't think you should either. And I think Brissett, my prediction is that Brissett is not a QB1 because he has been every time he started a game this season. But I don't think he's going to be inside the top 20, genuinely. Like this defense is insane. The prop I'm taking is under 1.5 passing touchdowns. I'm kind of just rambling at this point. I mean, I could have kept this to about 10 seconds of analysis. Houston, Texas defense, really, really, really good. End of discussion. Like, I don't think anything else really matters beyond that. I think they're the best defense in football.
Yeah, I could not agree more with this as I was updating my weekly quarterback rankings for week 15. How low can you rank Jacoby Brissett this week? Just because you can't recommend starting him in any capacity. If the Texans are shutting out guys like Mahomes and Josh Allen, what do you think they're going to do against Jacoby Brissett, who, again, we have to admit that a lot of his stats are coming in fourth quarter, second half, garbage time. And I don't know if the Texans are just going to kind of let that happen. I think they're like, no, like, we're going to set the clamps down on any offense that we face because that's how we win these games. So, again, the Cardinals' defense has been bad this year too. So, especially over the last couple weeks. So, even if it's a closer game than the spread suggests, and it's not the Texans blowing out the Cardinals, I think I talked about this on the Betting Pro show, but the garbage man has been taking out the trash every single week when it comes to these Arizona Cardinals. This might be the week that he doesn't show up to pick up the trash when it comes to Jacoby Brissett. So we know that garbage time runs out eventually. Back in the Blake Bortles days, every single week it was glorious fantasy QB1 numbers. And then you run into a buzzsaw like the Texans defense and those fantasy points can go away. I think that a bigger concern for fantasy managers, it's not really Trey McBride because what else are you going to do? You can't not start him, is Michael Wilson, actually, where he was ECR 8 last week. And that wasn't even high enough. Based on what his performance actually was, he's seeing 17 targets per game without Marvin Harrison in the lineup. Volume should still be on his side, but what kind of efficiency will he post in a brutal matchup against the Texans where he could draw Stingley, Lassiter, two of these really strong cornerbacks for the Texans. So it'll be interesting where Wilson ends up settling in ECR. I think there's obviously a floor with him because of the amount of volume that he's seeing, especially with all these receivers' injuries on the Arizona Cardinals. But what is his actual ceiling going to be? I mean, could this be a game where, yeah, he sees 20 targets, but he catches like 6 or 7, and then that's maybe not even that bad of a performance. So interested to see where ECR moves him because, yeah, you're not going to see Jacoby anywhere near the top 12, but will Michael Wilson kind of follow suit? I'm kind of interested to see.
Is there any chance he's playing, or is he definitely going to miss another week? I haven't
still TBD.
Seen anything.
If anything, it almost makes it easier to just bench Wilson outright if Harrison does play, right?
I was going to say, if Harrison plays, I would not play Wilson again in this matchup. That would be like a very straightforward thing to me.
That would make it really easy.
I mean, the question is, would you play Harrison if Harrison's playing?
I know. No.
I think literally if Marvin Harrison Jr. plays, I think Trey McBride is the only player on this offense you can start.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody else.
Agreed.
Yeah, Houston's really good. He's QB 18 in ECR, by the way. Like him versus Justin Herbert, banged up, bad offensive line against Kansas City. That's an interesting one. Him versus JJ McCarthy finally had a good game. He's now going up in Dallas, which has been better prior to this Lions game on defense. Bryce Young, Caleb Williams against Cleveland. These are some of the names that are right behind Brissett. I think you'd make a case for. I'm not saying you would definitely move him down past all of them, but I think you can make a case for it. Like, I want nothing to do with Brissett this week.
I would say, too, the Cardinals, their stud tackle, Paris Johnson Jr., he got hurt last week. Like that is we saw what this Texas defense did to a beat-up offensive line last week against the Chiefs. So just be very, very careful with
again,
Cardinals.
Would you agree with me that, like, obviously they're not going to play every quarterback, but if every quarterback was on the table as a potential opponent, do you agree that Allen is like maybe the only one you'd start against him? Like, I really would not want to start any. Even the elites, I would just like not. I think they're going to shut down everybody. I think they are that good.
we saw them shut down Josh Allen already this year. So
I know. I'm just saying he's like on a different level where it's like I can't, but like I don't know. I don't know that I would really want to start Stafford or May or Hurts or Lamar or Burrow or Dak, who have all been good, at times this season. For some of them, like I just don't want to do it. So I don't know. Maybe that's a little too aggressive, but they're really, really good. That's the point. We've got a special offer for everyone. Unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today. Use promo code FP1month. That's the number 1, not spelled out. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Don't miss out. Try it free for 1 month now. Available on iOS and Android. Erickson, we went pretty long on those first two. That's my fault for taking 10 minutes to say Houston defense good. Let's go to your number 4 prediction.
Going to go with Kenneth Walker. RB1 season against the Indianapolis Colts. That could be trotting out Phillip Rivers as our quarterback potentially. Probably not, but not Daniel
this
Jones.
Week, I don't think, yeah.
Probably Riley Leonard or Brett Rippon if Leonard can't play because he's dealing with a knee injury. Regardless, it's just a really good spot for the Seahawks offense. They're going to score points in some way or some form because they have a massive implied team total playing at home against a pretty lifeless Colts team at this point that just lost their quarterback. So I like Ken Walker in this spot, to be totally honest. And last week, and actually over the last couple games, Walker's usage has kind of been encouraging. It's been hard to tell in the raw box score because of these weird blowout game scripts that the Seahawks keep playing in. And of course, this could be another blowout game script, but I do think that this will play into Walker's favor here. If you look at last week, Walker actually played 60% of the snaps with Sam Darnold as the quarterback. He had 2 targets near the end zone. He didn't score. He had 3 red zone carries. Last 3 weeks, the touches have been 42-29 in favor of Ken Walker over Zach Charbonnet. He has 13 plus opportunities in 7 straight games to Charbonnet's 4. Now, Indianapolis has been able to be run on the last couple games because they've been missing DeForest Buckner. He is eligible to come off injured reserve this week, but he's dealing with a neck injury, so still TBD on whether he's going to play or not. If he doesn't play in this game, I think that this is a spot where the Seahawks look to get Walker really, really going. He's been better at home this year. 60 plus rushing yards in 3 of his last 4 games. And to your point, or to my point about the Colts run defense being weak without Buckner, last 4 running backs that have faced the Colts have at least 64 plus rushing yards against them. So I like Walker, my prop, to be going over 60.5 rushing yards this week against the Colts at home.
Do you like Charbonnet also in this game, just given the matchup? Because he's my prop. He's not my prediction, but we'll talk about him now anyway. I think the Seahawks defense special teams is going to win playoff matchups this week against the Colts with whoever is at quarterback. And I'm going to predict that they score over 20 fantasy points in this game. And I mean, the Seahawks defense has been awesome. Like, I think 3 of their last 4 games, they have 19 plus points anyway. But going up against this offense without Daniel Jones, I just think they can focus all their attention on Taylor and dominate. And because I expect Seattle to dominate, I have Zach Charbonnet anytime touchdown as my prop, because even if Walker maybe ends up having the bigger day, like you have him as an RB1, I think they're going to be up by so much that we're going to get a lot of Charbonnet carries. And I think he'll end up getting into the end zone against what has been a struggling run defense in what I expect to be a blowout. So do you also like, I'm not saying do you like him better than Walker, but do you also like Charbonnet?
I think all Seahawks are firmly in play because they're going to score a lot of points. So it's just a matter of, okay, who scores the touchdowns here? Now, usually it's Jackson Smith-Njigba. He usually scores all the touchdowns. But to your point, could be Seahawks defense. It could be the running backs. That being said, there's too much upside in the Seahawks offense to leave them on fantasy benches. So Charbonnet, not someone that you're always looking to necessarily start, but as a flex play where you could see the upside path for him, I agree with you. So I like all Seahawks this week. They all have a ton of upside. And I think that upside is ultimately wins your fantasy matchups in the playoffs. Again, you could see, no one would be surprised if Ken Walker has 30 points this week. Wouldn't be surprised if Zach Charbonnet has 30 points this week, because if they are able to score multiple touchdowns, then that's the easiest way to get there. So yes, high on the Seahawks offense to score points. Even Sam Darnold, right? Someone that's kind of been inconsistent, looked terrible in the first half against the Falcons. Then the second half plays out and he's fine, putting up monster numbers to JSN. So yeah, fire up those Seahawks.
What is the spread in that game? I meant to look it up and I forgot. I'll try and pull it up now.
I'm pretty sure it's 2 touchdowns. 13.5
Yeah,
points.
I mean, it should be. Right, that's...
Especially, look, I mean, if it's Brett Rippon, like this is like max.
It should maybe be 3
2.0.
touchdowns.
Like, we just saw this play out, right?
It's 13.5 on Hard Rock Bet. So it's just under 2 touchdowns. That doesn't feel like enough. Like, I will take the Seahawks in like kind of easily, maybe even. That this game's also in Seattle. Like, it's
a tough spot. Again, like I just said, we saw this 2 weeks ago with Mac Brosmer going to Seattle, making his first start. It's
like this.
Down.
This total's 42. I'm like, Colts are not getting 10. I don't think so. I mean, they're expecting a big game from the Seahawks offense.
I don't think that you can start any Colts player
42 with a spread of 13.5 is hilarious. Actually,
did you start any Colts player not named Jonathan Taylor?
I would not. No, I would not start like Pittman or Pierce or
Tyler Warren's getting the bench. They getting the axe too. He's tough too because it's tight end. It's a little bit different, and it's also the Seahawks have been bad against tight ends this year too.
I would start Warren because like you think a bad quarterback like dumping off the short passes a lot. Try and let him do something after the catch. I know Warren has like been a little inconsistent. He's a tight end. Of course, everybody's inconsistent at the position. But generally has been good, right? Like, especially early on. So I would be fine starting Warren. But Warren and Taylor, that's it. I'm not starting a receiver in this game for the Colts.
I would agree.
Let's go to the next prediction. I want to actually ask you, so you're going to talk about Kyle Monangai here, and I want to ask you him versus somebody like Charbonnet. Now, based on the fact that you have a very positive prediction here, which I'll let you say, I'm guessing you're going to go Monangai, but going up against, a good Browns rush defense, they're both kind of backup spots. I think it's interesting to pit the two of them against each other. So what do you think about that comparison? And then also, why do you like Monangai?
I like Monangai because he has been a staple in the Bears rushing attack that ranks number 1 in the NFL in rushing success rate. He actually has the highest success rate of the 2 Bears running backs this season. He has been a star. And the Bears have talked about, how did this guy fall all the way to the 7th round? And I think it's because he went to Rutgers. He wasn't this flashy running back, but he was just someone that was a bowling ball when they got the ball in his hands, and he picked up the yards that were blocked for him, and he doesn't fumble the ball. So the coaching staff is continuing to believe on Monangai. He has 12 plus carries in 4 straight games. And you look at this Browns defense, they gave up a career high in rushing yards to Tony Pollard last week. 25 carries for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard was left for dead in fantasy football. At least that's where I had him. I had no consideration of using him in any capacity whatsoever.
We have not said his name on any show throughout the week in 2 months.
On the road against the Browns, I'm expecting him to do absolutely nothing, and he has a career day. And something to point out about this Browns run defense, this was the first game last week without defensive tackle Malik Collins. And I kind of noted that in some of my betting stuff that I was looking at. I was wondering, okay, I wonder how much of a difference this is going to make from their run defense. And I mean, maybe he really was that good of kind of being that interior pass rusher or interior run defender. We see this a lot with these teams where you lose one big guy up front and it can drastically alter how good your defense is against the run. See the Patriots with Milton Williams. He's been out the last couple of weeks and the Patriots run defense hasn't been nearly as good. So we may be seeing something similar here in Cleveland with their run defense being not nearly as good as the season-long stats would suggest. Last 4 games, the Browns have actually allowed 184 rushing yards in 2 of those last 4 games. They're on the road here playing in Chicago. And I think that if the Bears want to impose their will with a physical run game, it is Kyle Monangai all the way that they're going to give the ball to in December. Chicago Bears football. Monangai, watching him live in that Packers game, the dude runs so physical. You could see him making contact with Packers defenders and the decals flying off of their helmets because of how hard Monangai was hitting the hole. So I think that this is a spot where he could see double-digit carry, or excuse me, up to like 20 carries in this game against a Browns defense that they could be had on the run. And honestly, does it even matter how good the Browns defense has been? Because the Bears have shown they can run the ball on literally any team in the NFL. And at home, I think that's what they're going to want to do here. So I like Monangai to be a top 24 running back this week. I'm going to take the over on his rushing yards prop, which I believe opened around 57.5 rushing yards. I'm taking the over.
Browns defense is better at home, so the fact that this game is in Chicago helps the case. I'm a little confused by his ranking. He's RB29 in ECR. Like, I don't. He should be higher than that, in my opinion. Like, I look at some of these other names around him, like Chris Rodriguez, Aaron Jones. I mean, he's a few spots behind DeAndre Swift. I mean, obviously, I think they're both intriguing starts. Devin Neal, like Marion Hampton, what is his usage really going to look like if Idell's not going anywhere and going up in Kansas City? Like there's some interesting names that I think you could talk yourself into getting Monangai ahead of. I do love that like last year you and I were all in on Estime. We were the Estimates and we were just wrong, but now we were the Monangais and we were right. Like we got one back. And I was all over him and I have really enjoyed watching him outshine his draft capital this year. So I like really agree with this one. I do think him versus Charbonnet is interesting because I'm pretty confident Charbonnet is going to get some touchdown scoring opportunities. Monangai, like I think he will, but I don't know for sure. I'm more confident that Charbonnet will, which at the end of the day sometimes is all that matters. But I like them both, even though they're both backups here. And Monangai, even with the tough matchup. Let's go to another prediction here. Lions-Rams is from me. Lions-Rams is actually going to be a fantasy disappointment, generally speaking. I didn't want to pick one player because you never know, like if somebody gets a touchdown late or whatever. But I just think generally, this is very much a spiritual prediction, right? We will know it when we see it if it was a fantasy disappointment or not. And I think generally speaking, this will be a disappointment because expectations are just so crazy high. This is a total of 50. Actually, it was 55. Oh my gosh. I have it up here. It was 55 when I put the sheet together yesterday. It's already up to 56 on Hard Rock Bet. That has to be the highest we have seen this year. I cannot remember seeing a higher one, honestly. Like, I'm sure it has happened. I'm not saying this is a record-setting total, but I cannot recall specifically the last time I saw a total over 55. Up to 56 on Hard Rock Bet is really remarkable. So I'm going to take the under on 56 points scored is my prop. Because I think it'll generally be disappointing. These two teams combined for, I believe, 89 points last week, which you might say, okay, then you're crazy to take the under in the 50s. I think like there's room for regression there, right? Like even if both offenses are good, like maybe they have to settle for one or two more field goals rather than touchdowns. The other thing too is the Rams defense. Like I know everybody talks about McVay and stat. Rams defense is awesome. It would not surprise me going up against this Detroit offensive line if they give the Lions real actual problems. Now I'm not saying, hey, it's a fantasy playoffs, go sit Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra St. Brown or anything like that. But I would like maybe dial down your expectations because I think this Rams defense is real. It's not the Texans defense, but it's really, really good. This game's in LA, so it's still in a dome, but it's not in Coors Field. And I think there's a little room for just some small regression. Like you're not going to score 40 points every week. These teams both did it last week. I think they could fall back to earth a little bit. The Lions defense is so bagged up that I'm a little nervous that Stafford could just throw for like 1,000 yards and, get them really close to the over on his own. But I think generally speaking, this will be a disappointment, Erickson.
My lean with what you're saying seems like you want to take the Lions team total under, right? Because it seems like you're really pro Rams here, but less confident in the Lions, and that's kind of how I view the same matchup.
I like taking the overall under because 56 is such a high number, but if you were like, no, you had to pick a team total, it would be Lions under. That would be what I would go. Correct.
I would be interested to see something I'll have to probably look at when I'm doing the betting write-ups for this particular game is the recent matchups with Jared Goff against Sean McVay and how well Jared Goff
played early last season, right? It was like a 26-21 game or something early last year,
which clearly is not 56
Yeah, that's well
points.
under.
So
now Stafford's playing better this year than he did at that stage last year, and Gibbs is awesome, and these are two good offenses. I'm not saying they're bad. 56 is a remarkable number.
Yeah. It's actually, to your point, the highest total was actually the Cowboys-Lions game last week, which was 55.
Yeah. I think that the path to me winning this prediction is like maybe if only two players have good fantasy days and the rest are bad, that's a disappointment. Like if you get to 3, maybe that's too much. I don't know. Maybe we can just kind of play it by it might be kind of hard to define it like ahead of time. Like I said, I think we'll kind of know it when we see it. If this was like, hey, we got the fun scoring game we expected, or no, this expectations are high. So
To your point, you're also just playing the numbers game, right? Where this game could be 30-24 and you win. It's also still a shootout.
You probably should auto take the under on any line that is ever over 53. Like that, you should probably do that. And you get up to 56. I mean, it's just,
Well, it's similar to the process of betting the over in the Browns-Titans game when it was at 31.5 points.
Yeah.
When it's just, it's so low, it doesn't matter what the optics of the actual matchup are. It's just, okay, well, anything can happen. It's any given Sunday. And
funnily enough, I'm usually on the other side of this. Like, I'm the guy who last week said, we are getting the big Bills-Bengals game, like, even though it's a really high total. Like, I usually am the guy who says, I know it's high, but I want to bet it anyway. This one is like, A, it's so high, and B, I see reasons for why it might be a disappointing game. I think these teams could move the ball and just end up settling for a lot of field goals. And then that gets us to where we're trying to go. It's like, okay, if Jake Bates has a big game, we're not counting. That's still a fantasy disappointment. So
now you got Jake Bates as kicker one on your team.
Yeah. If you want a chance to win Bijan Robinson and Drake London's signed mini helmet for free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com, all you need to do is head to fantasypros.com/contest, complete the form, and either download the Fantasy Pros app, leave a review for the podcast, or follow us on X, Instagram, or TikTok at Fantasy Pros. The more actions you complete, the more entries you receive. We will be announcing a winner right here on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Erickson, our number 2 predictions each have to do with Ravens-Bengals. I'll let you go first.
Mike Gesicki mode. He's going to finish as a tight end 1 against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this comes with the caveat that T. Higgins sits for this matchup. We know that T. Higgins has re-entered the concussion protocol. He missed 2 weeks ago. He played last week, but he took a couple hits to the head, and he's re-entered the concussion protocol after reporting symptoms of a concussion. And we've seen the splits with Mike Gesicki with T. Higgins out of the lineup. Now, it didn't come to fruition against the Ravens a couple weeks ago on Thanksgiving, but all of last year we saw Mike Gesicki just absolutely smash in the games that T. Higgins missed. And it kind of makes sense when you think about it stylistically. Gesicki really operates as a big-bodied slot wide receiver. He doesn't play traditional tight end, and they like to use him a lot in the red zone. And even last week, I was really low on Gesicki against the Buffalo Bills, just given how good they've been against tight ends, but he was perfect 6 for 86 and 1, 38% target rate per route run. He was making one-handed catches in the snow. Like, it was a really fun game for Gesicki, and I think that he can have a big game again against the Baltimore Ravens 2 weeks in a row. Disappointing in the first matchup against the Ravens, like I mentioned, just 2 for 19 on 4 targets, but he did have some red zone targets. He had an end zone target in that game, and it was also Joe Burrow's first game back. So I think that with the performance from last week, they can build on that. And I think volume should be there for Gesicki as the slot receiver for the Bengals if T. Higgins ultimately sits. So I'm going to go with Gesicki finishing as a fantasy tight end 1, and he's going to go over his receiving yards prop, which I found around 35.5 receiving yards.
I don't really know what to do with picking players against this Ravens defense right now because they genuinely are. It's not just playing worse teams. They are a better defense than they were in the first month of the season. Like, I think unequivocally, like partly from getting healthier, partly from moving Kyle Hamilton around, partly from just like playing better in general. But I still don't think they're actually that good. Like they're a very frustrating defense to watch as a fan of the team. Burrow obviously has had no rust coming back from this injury and has looked very good, including, against this Ravens defense. The Bengals, obviously they got a lot of turnovers, but like they won that game going away. So I think this is like a pretty reasonable one. I do think, and I'll loop this into my prediction, that this is like last year we got 2 Ravens-Bengals games that were instant classics, like 38-35, 41-38, like crazy games, back and forth, high scoring, both offenses. I kind of think we get that. We did not get that on Thanksgiving. I think we could have maybe gotten close to that if not for like a ridiculous amount of turnovers in those fumbles by the Ravens offense. I think we could kind of maybe get there this week. So my prediction is that we get the real Lamar Jackson, like truly returning to form, QB1 performance in the rematch with Cincinnati. And you pointed out when I put this in the sheet that it's kind of calling you out a little, that like technically you got the prediction right last week, with you saying that Lamar kind of bounces back. But, as I call it, maybe a bit of a spiritual loss there. He didn't look that amazing.
I was right on my prop because he did throw over 1.5 passing touchdowns, except the rest decided, no, that's not a touchdown, so we're going to take it off the board. So
yeah, you try telling that to the book and see if they honor that bet. It's funny. Like we have like just barely missed out on like 3 or 4 extra passing touchdowns from Lamar across the last 2 weeks.
Isaiah Likely, man.
Likely
this guy should
2
have like
of them.
5 touchdowns.
Yep. Zay could have had one. Maybe one of those Devontae Walker, deep balls on the Thursday night game could have been one. We have missed out on like some bigger performances by Lamar. I think this is the one. I think this is the one where it's like he reminds everybody that like, oh no, this is like one of the elite guys, like actually all the way back. He always struggles against the Steelers, which is why I was a little hesitant last week, even if he starts to look better. But I thought that was the best he'd looked outside of that interception, which was terrible by him. I think this was the best Lamar has looked in a month and a half. And now he gets the Bengals defense. Like Trey Hendrickson is now out for the season because he had his surgery today. I think this is like the Lamar Jackson. He's also historically done very well against this defense. Like this is the Lamar Jackson game. I have a prop of 250 combined yards rushing and passing, and 3 combined touchdowns rushing and passing. I think this is like a top 5 quarterback on the week game where it's like the real Lamar Jackson is back. Erickson, we could spend an hour talking about some of those calls in the Steelers game. Obviously that Isaiah Likely one was brutal. It's the problem for me with that wasn't that they said it was not a catch. It's that wasn't a catch, but the tipped pass that Rodgers caught that they said wasn't an interception and he got his knee down was a catch. I'm like Likely did so much more in the process of catching the ball than Rodgers, who had like one hand on the ball as he was going to the ground. And everybody was like, well, his knee's on the ground. And Ty goes to the office. I'm like, what Ty? He never had the ball. Like in no world did he ever possess the ball. And it's not like the ball hit the ground and, the Ravens player recovered a fumble. He just came down with the ball. Like I could not believe that call when combined with the Likely call. Like if you want to say neither of them were catches, I would disagree, but I can live with that. If you want to say they were both catches, I can disagree, but I can live with that. To say Rodgers actually caught the ball and whatever football move, whatever the rule is for the catch rule, which I don't understand, and Likely didn't. Like I do not understand how you can square those two together. It drove me nuts. Also, the refs did admit that the Travis Jones penalty that just handed the Steelers 4 points was incorrect. By the way, the Ravens could have kicked a field goal to win the game if there were 4 points fewer by the Steelers. So I'm just throwing it out there. That was the most hurt. I can't stand Erickson complaining about the officiating because I think it's usually incompetence, not maliciousness. And it just comes across so lame, but I could not help I was going full mayor when the Eagles play the Cowboys conspiracy theory on Twitter. I was so irate about because it was like actual meaningful calls, right? It wasn't like a random pass interference here or there. It was like multiple game-changing calls that in a close game that had the biggest implications for the postseason percentages of any game in the NFL this season. So I'm not over it yet.
Clearly.
All right, I won't waste anybody else's time with my ranting there. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. So it's time for our Hard Rock Best Bets of the Week, presented by Hard Rock Bet. Erickson, what is your Hard Rock Best Bet of the week?
Travis Etienne is going to finish as a top 8 fantasy running back against the New York Jets. The Jets defense has been absolutely terrible against running backs since they got rid of Quinn Williams. The last 4 running backs to face the Jets, their fantasy finishes: RB8, RB1, RB4, RB3. 9 running backs in the last 7 games have hit at least 62 rushing yards against the New York Jets, and 7 have gone over 65 or more rushing yards. So that's the prop I'm taking with Etienne. He's going to go over 64.5 rushing yards. And Etienne, man, the guy has just been on an absolute tear. He's been inside the top 10 running backs 6 of his last 7 games played, including top 7 in 3 of his last 4 games. And although the Jaguars have kind of teased us a little bit, and myself, because I'm a big Bashaw Tootin fan, about we're going to use the tugboat, we're going to use him at the goal line. He fumbled twice last week. That's just a really bad red flag for a young player that I don't think they're going to necessarily go right back to him. I think that they're going to continue to ride Travis Etienne because of how productive he has been, especially last week. 74 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 20 carries. playing nearly 72% of the snaps. That was almost one of his season highs after playing one of his season lows against the Tennessee Titans the week before. So I just think it's wheels up for Travis Etienne, and he's going to smash this week against the New York Jets.
You'll get no argument from me. I think this is a great call. I like that you went a little aggressive with like a top 8 finish here for him rather than just RB1 because he is ranked inside the RB1 range already. I agree. I think it's a really strong call. I have nothing to argue against. It's a good best bet. By the way, just very quickly, Phillip Rivers is signing to the Colts practice squad. That was just announced by Adam Schefter 3 minutes ago.
And if I had to guess, he's probably going to be the week 16 starter.
Does this reset his Hall of Fame clock? Because he was like, it's been 5 years since he played.
Does he actually have to play in a game? How does that work exactly?
I'm guessing he has to play in a game for it. Well, actually, I don't know. Honestly, I'm unfamiliar with those rules because it just doesn't happen very often. Yeah, wild stuff. My Hard Rock best bet of the week is also about a running back. It's TreVeyon Henderson. He is going to be finally kind of the prince who was promised here. RB1 against the Bills. He has only been inside the top 12 twice this season. Like, even as we kind of like the perception of TreVeyon is that like, oh yeah, the last month, like, or, 5 weeks or so, he's finally kind of back and, not back, but like he's finally kind of had the breakout and getting the usage and he's been the running back we wanted. He was RB4 in week 10, RB3 in week 11. Besides that, he has not been higher than RB20, even in this stretch, let alone his poor stretch earlier in the season. So I think finishing inside the top 12 is a good prediction here, even though he's ranked at RB13. And Bills' run defense is not good. The Patriots are coming off the bye. This is like the biggest game on their schedule. The rest of the season is this game. They are going to be ready. I'm hoping the fact that it's a big game doesn't mean Vrabel like falls back on other running backs because he seemingly hates Henderson. But I think they're going to want to use their best weapon against the Bills here. Again, they're bad against running backs. I think he's going to get an explosive long play. I think he's going to score touchdowns. I'm betting on 100 plus scrimmage yards and a touchdown for TreVeyon Henderson this week. I think it's good that they're ranked near each other because I like them both. Etienne probably should be ranked higher. He's 2 spots higher, but I think they're like, I'm viewing them similarly this week in terms of my excitement for starting them. So those were our Hard Rock best bets of the week. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably deep in the stats, injury reports, and matchups. Put your fantasy football knowledge to the test on Hard Rock Bet. New customers can sign up and bet $5 on any game. If it wins, you'll find $150 in bonus bets on top of your winnings stuffed in your stocking. Now that's holiday magic. Not sure what to place your first bet on? Hard Rock Bet just launched a brand new For You page, making it easy to find all your favorite teams, players, and leagues all in one place. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. It's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, and Michigan. Coming soon to more states too. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos every single day. So whenever you're listening, just open the app and check out what you've got any day of the week. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit. Erickson, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
So you think Bills Patriots is more important than Patriots Ravens? Becca just got flexed into primetime. I can't believe you go there.
It's not more important to me. I'd say it's more important to the Patriots who are trying to win this division here. Wow. I'm glad that game got moved to primetime, actually. I think that's going to be an awesome game, even though the records wouldn't suggest that. If the Ravens really are coming off this big blow-up, offense looks back against the Bengals, I think people are going to be really excited for that game. So I am excited for it to be Sunday
night. Do we need to do a Worm and Erickson watch party of Pat's Ravens?
Watch party. We'll do an emergency pod afterwards, like just all of it. I'm outnumbered at this company though. There's more Patriots fans on the content team than there are Ravens fans. So I'm like Jon Snow, just like holding you guys off in the Battle of the Bastards. Yeah, that's fun. Good luck to everybody here this week. I mean, especially just in the fantasy playoffs in general, but hopefully our predictions can help out with setting your lineups and making maybe some prop bets if you want. Each week we do a quick fantasy football live stream ahead of Thursday Night Football on the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel and a short betting live stream ahead of Monday Night Football on the Betting Pros YouTube channel. Both of them go from 8 p.m. Eastern until kickoff. Please check them out, subscribe to our YouTube channels, and click the bell to be notified of all of our weekly live streams. For Erickson, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.